Yo, it's Mo Flavor. You're here for the catch-up, right? Nice one. Always good to have you back. But don't forget, the real vibe happens on 947, weekdays 9 a.m. to 12. In the meantime, kick back and enjoy more of the good stuff right here on Prime Media Plus.
You're listening to Mo Flavor on 947.
Every Tuesday, we come together and talk about whatever medical issues you may have, things you've identified on your body. Anyway, really, there's no question too complex or too silly or too, daft. Anything is welcome. But I'm not the one who answers those questions. There's no way I could. Dr. Darren Green is a trusted voice in the medical world, and he joins us on Tuesdays to answer those questions for you on the Mediclinic Moment. Doc, good morning and welcome back.
Top of the morning to you.
Yeah, some interesting ones. Let's start with Ashley here. Ashley says, should I be concerned if my 2-year-old keeps intentionally banging his head and hitting himself? I've seen a couple of kids do this, Doc. What's the play?
Yeah.
What's the play here?
Good grief. Well, one speaks about the terrible twos. A lot of parents feel that way. They often feel helpless and don't know what to do when children have this behavior that's just not lovely, orthodox, disciplined behavior. The thing is, what's normal for age and what's not. So, head banging or even self-hitting, it can be normal behavior in toddlers. I think let's start there, especially between the age of 1 and 3. So the thing that's important here is to realize that they experience emotions and feelings and they don't know how to process them or what to do with that emotion that's building up inside. So often it's linked to frustration or even fatigue. As they get tired, they try to keep themselves stimulated. When it's bedtime, you're fighting that bedtime. So you see that in adults too. They never grow out of it sometimes, where they don't want to go to sleep. And the Netflix keeps going till 3 in the morning. And you're so tired, but you keep going. And then the other big one is attention-seeking behavior. Often children can act out because they're looking for all your focus, all your attention, and it might be negative behavior or negative attention that they do anything to get your attention. So when should you worry? I think you should seek medical advice if the child injures themselves frequently. If your child's cracking their forearms against the swing or the jungle gym, you need to make a plan. If there's developmental delays, in other words, poor eye contact, speech delays with your child in terms of their normal developmental milestones, and if the behavior continues beyond the age of 3, also it's recommended that you get assessed by a specialist, either a neurologist or child pediatrician, of course. So because of conditions like developmental delay and sensory processing difficulties, etc., that could point to some other conditions, spectrum disorders, etc. So, I hope that gives the parents a bit of reassurance about when certain behaviors are normal, but also when to act and move on.
Yeah, because the other question I have onto that, Doc, is does it ever go away, in the context of getting attention or even sometimes not?
100%. And that's why they say if it goes on beyond the age of 3, you learn different ways of summoning help and getting, attention and engagement as you develop according to normal milestones, as you go beyond 3 years old. And then obviously there are alternatives. So that is why they say if it goes on beyond that, you should definitely get an assessment done.
Roger that, Doc. Okay, here's another one from Tibla. Tibla says, my inner thighs are darker and have dark marks. What can I use to remove those dark spots I get? Oh,
wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, darkening skin, or what they call hyperpigmentation, it's all about the melanin content. And we all know that melanin, not melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, melanin is the thing that gives your skin its dark color. So when it comes to darkening, there are a few things that can contribute. The big groups are friction and chafing. So it's all about wearing clothes that can cause friction, chafing and inflammation. And then as your body heals from that friction, inflammation, even things like shaving, waxing, ingrown hairs and rashes, they can heal and then leave dark skin. However, most of the other changes are associated with hormone fluctuations. And we always think about cement. What do we call the cement? PPC. Puberty, pregnancy, and contraceptive use. can also stimulate that melanin, that dark color causing, pigment that I've mentioned, and lead to localized darkening. But I think the big one is that it's very common is insulin resistance in the metabolic side of medical conditions. So diabetes, pre-diabetes, can lead to like a velvety, thickened, darker skin on the inner thighs or in any body fold, under the breasts, under the armpits, but also in the groin area. And we call that condition in medical terms acanthosis nigricans, which is linked obviously to being either overweight or pre-diabetic, as I've said, or polycystic ovarian disease, which involves the ovaries. So yeah, lots that you can identify and screen for. It might point to something that's a lifestyle disease that you can actually do something about, like control your sugar, manage your weight adequately. But if it's a local skin thing, then often a dermatologist can be involved in prescribing the right kind of meds that can lighten the skin and work on that. And, with that, there are things like azelaic acid and glycolic acid, but they should be prescribed by a professional that knows what they're treating.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of the times we have heard people talk about, dark inner thighs is more from an aesthetic point of view, where people say, it doesn't look nice, blah, 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 bikinis, this, and,
yes,
swimming
exactly.
shorts, that. So it's actually interesting that it can actually go beyond just the way, the aesthetics. It could also be a deeper issue.
Yeah, and point to a systemic illness like prediabetes or be a side effect of medication and hormones that one is taking as well.
Absolutely. So we must always have our wits about us, Doc. All right, we're going to leave it there for now. But thank you so much for your time as always, Dr. Green. And we'll link up again next Tuesday.
See you soon.
All right, Dr. Darren Green on the Mediclinic Moment, joining us to go through some of your fascinating questions. Yeah, I wonder who's going to be looking at their inner thighs now with greater scrutiny to see what's happening there. Thanks for that little chat. We'll do it again next Tuesday.
947